Okay, once again, as the clock ticks, here's what we can expect to happen in the next few minutes. At T-minus 2 minutes and 55 seconds, NASA will pressurize the liquid hydrogen tanks.
At T-minus 2 minutes, 35 seconds, the fuel cells will be readied.
And at T-minus 1 minute and 57 seconds, NASA will pressurize the liquid hydrogen tanks.
And right now we want to go back to Marcy Fleischer, who is at the Astronaut Hall of Fame. Marcy, is the crowd there getting a little bit antsy?
A little bit antsy. I think more excited than antsy. The anticipation is certainly building. We've ventured off our truck to join the hundreds that have gathered here on the lawn of the Astronaut Hall of Fame. I've got Stephen with me. You didn't come that far, just from Tampa. Why are you here today? Have you ever seen a shuttle live?
Never seen a shuttle live at all. This is the first time.
What are you expecting?
A good, safe launch. It's very exciting. And seeing John Glenn go up again for him is absolutely fantastic.
Okay, Stephen, I want to also introduce our viewers to some of the younger John Glenn fans who are here. Justin, where are you from?
I'm from Orlando.
Orlando. What do you think about all that's going on today?
It's really freaky because people were coming here yesterday. It's pretty cool.
And are you looking forward to this?
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think it's going to sound like?
Loud.
Loud. And what do you think about all the excitement here today?
I don't know. I just want to see John Glenn go up again and just have fun.
Okay, guys, there is a lot of fun here at the Astronaut Hall of Fame, kind of like a carnival atmosphere. Everybody watching their watches and knowing now that we're just 25 minutes out. Excitement continues to build. We've got a terrific view just about 11 miles from you, Angela and Dave.
All right, Marcy, thank you very much. We just found out that earlier we were talking about Lisa Malone, the voice of NASA. We just found out that at T-minus 9 minutes, Dr. Sullivan, Scott Carpenter, who is one of Glenn's Mercury 7 astronaut buddies, is going to have a very special message for Senator Glenn then. That's T-minus 9 minutes. Shuttle Discovery countdown.
And it's really symbolic because it was Scott Carpenter that said, you know, Godspeed, John Glenn, during the first flight in the Mercury. Let's go to the Ohio State University now and Lisa Kick. Lisa, what's happening there?
In Bricker Hall, the OSU Men's Glee Club is singing to us, getting everyone excited for this big mission. Listen in for just a little bit.
From sea to shining sea, oh, beautiful for nature's dream.
Very fitting as our Senator and astronaut John Glenn makes his second trip into space as the oldest man in the world to ever go into space. Really just some excitement building here at Ohio State just within the last 20 minutes or so, you guys. We have a nice crowd on hand now of students and staff, and we'll be checking back in with you and letting you know about their reaction to all of this. Folks are starting to get even more excited now as we inch closer to liftoff.
We all are, Lisa. Yeah. Thank you very much. Lisa Kick reporting from OSU. We'll be back right after this.
Stay with us.
Live from the Kennedy Space Center, 10 TV Eyewitness News presents Countdown to Discovery, John Glenn's return to space.
And we welcome you back to Cape Canaveral here for the space flight and the space flight and John Glenn's return to space.
All right, and we are going to listen in then to NASA Selected Mission Control now that we are inside the 10-minute mark. But first, right now, we want to go to Dr. Catherine Sullivan, our resident expert. What is happening right now inside of 10 minutes?
We're counting down the last few seconds till a built-in hold at 9 minutes. Our understanding is that there'll be an interesting and special message to the crew by Scott Carpenter, who said the original goodbye to John Glenn 36 years ago. And then the team will go through the rest of its normal status checks, final verification. Everybody's really ready to take a deep breath and focus.
You see, this is the busiest time then?
All the busy and important things get checked more often and more precisely from here on in. Just about to go into the hold. Let's listen to NASA Select.
And countdown clock is now holding at the T-minus 9 minute mark. Again, this is a planned built-in hold, the last planned one for our countdown today for STS-95. We are pleased to be joined this afternoon by another of NASA's original 7 Mercury astronauts, Scott Carpenter, and he has a special message for the crew aboard Discovery.
Yes, at this point in the count, it seems appropriate to say to the Shuttle Discovery crew, good luck, have a safe flight, and to say once again, Godspeed, John Glenn.
Okay, that was
Carpenter
once
served
again
as Glenn's backup for the
Scott
Mercury
Carpenter.
flight in 1962. He was located in the Complex 14 blockhouse just a few hundred yards away from the launch pad at Cape Canaveral Air Station. Carpenter was in communication with Glenn for the last 18 seconds of the launch countdown, and moments before the launch uttered to Glenn the immortal words, which have since been etched into history. Scott Carpenter, again, is here at Kennedy Space Center watching the launch of his once fellow crewmate of one of the original 7. We have all three of the surviving original 7 are here at Kennedy Space Center. Of course, John Glenn patiently awaiting the launch of the Shuttle Discovery, and just less than 20 minutes away now.
For the cabin bleed down, and that's the only one we reached as far as we know.
All right, we were listening to the voice of Lisa Malone, Mission Control. Dr. Sullivan, it must be a real rush then for these Mercury 7 astronauts, the remaining 3, to be able to be here to wish Godspeed to their old astronaut buddy.
I think you're right, Angela. Just seeing them around here last night and today, they're clearly pretty pumped about this, excited for John, maybe a bit nostalgic themselves, and not all of them get down for all the shuttle launches, so I think they're probably also enjoying watching a shuttle launch, which is very different than the Mercury Redstone they remember.
I thought it was interesting to note that after they played over the PA system the message of Scott Carpenter, and there was applause that you could hear in the background all the way up the media tents, and even lined up here on Banana Creek over here.
Yeah, I thought Scott did that very nicely. The tradition, of course, is to wish Godspeed and a safe flight to the mission commander and the entire crew. And 36 years ago, that was John.
That's right. He was the only one in the capsule there. So I think now we're going to go to Robin Simmons, who is in New Concord, Ohio, hometown of John Glenn. Robin?
We are, Angela, and I can tell you that there is no excitement that would match what is going on in here. 800 students all attending John Glenn High School who are gathered here in the gym to see what's going to happen just about 15 minutes from now. And we want to kind of give you a flavor of what was going on in New Concord today. Excitement in John Glenn's hometown is at a fever pitch. From the flags proudly flying all over town to well-wishers watching history unfold on live television, the fever is contagious, even crossing state lines.
We decided that we would take time on this trip back to stop and see some of these things, and so that's what we're doing.
Charlotte Holmquist and her husband Fred are on their way back to Minnesota. Their stopover in New Concord today was pure coincidence. And of course, the most important place here in New Concord, a living shrine to Glenn, 186 Friendship Drive, Glenn's boyhood home, the street renamed for Friendship 7. Although she's an out-of-towner, Charlotte speaks for everyone here who's just happy to be a part of this historical day.
Goodness, this is what life is about.
And what life is about here at John Glenn High School, getting ready for the launch. And I pulled one of the students aside, Emily Tuttle, a sophomore here. What do you think about this whole thing?
I think it's pretty exciting. It's a good learning experience for us as students, and hopefully it can help for age-related problems. Hopefully it can lead to some discoveries for treatment of problems.
Going to a school that's named after this guy, I mean, creating history for a second time, I mean, how does that make you feel?
I think it's just pretty exciting. It's pretty nice to know that somebody from a small town can make it big and be as successful as he has been.
Wonderful. You heard it there, one of the students from John Glenn's hometown here in New Concord, just as proud as she can be, and everyone here is as proud as they can be that John Glenn is from this area and never forgot it and always comes back, Angela.
He is their favorite son, Robin. Thank you very much.
And we take a look at the countdown clock. We find out we are still in that 9-minute hole, but they're telling us we have about 5 minutes left in this 9-minute hole. And Angela, talking to Catherine Sullivan a few moments ago, she was indicating to us that this is the kind of movies, the right stuff in the movie, everything is happening real quickly.
Can't you just see Tom Hanks right now in Mission Control? Because things now go click, 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 as Dr. Sullivan said. This is when the pace really picks up, and we get into this serious pre-launch phase. You're looking at the shuttle Discovery there, poised, ready to go.
Back in just a moment. Stay with us.
You're watching Mission Discovery, special coverage from 10 TV Eyewitness News and the Ohio News Network, with 10 TV's Dave Kaler, Angela Pace, and ONN's Deborah Knapp.
All right, and you're looking at video right there of the crew of STS-95. That's the shuttle Discovery as they walked out of crew quarters, about to get on that big Aerostream to be shuttled over to the shuttle.
This happened about 11 o'clock this morning, and they had a few of the big wheels, too, of NASA were on there, and then they take it partway out, and then they let the big wheels off, and then they take the rest of them down to the pad.
And it was really quite thrilling to watch them getting off the bus and going up into the shuttle itself. Right there, you're seeing them being strapped in, and it's really quite a process, too. There's Senator Glenn being strapped in for his second mission into space.
I wonder what's going through his mind. You know, he's a very modest individual, Angela, as you know. We've talked to him many times.
Right.
But you look at that resume, and it is the resume of a hero. You can't get around it. There's no way, shape, or form, but he's very humble and very modest about it.
But I think that right now he's probably like a kid at Christmas time.
Think so?
This is what he has wanted for 36 years. He always wanted that second mission, so now here is his opportunity to prove that he does have the right stuff. We understand right now that there is some kind of a delay. Let's talk to Dr. Kathy Sullivan right now. Yeah. Have you been able to hear what the delay is about?
They're still diagnosing the delay. It may well be kind of minor. They had a master alarm trigger in the cockpit associated with the cabin vent. That just occurred a few minutes ago. They're going to extend the 9-minute hold while they look at that and see what the determination is.
What is the cabin vent?
Well, as you know, inside the front end of the orbiter there's a pressure vessel that holds in 1 atmosphere worth of Florida air for the crew during launch and, in fact, the whole mission. Should the cabin ever get overpressured with a pressurization tank leaking into it, you want that air to be able to get out somewhere. So there are valves that let that cabin atmosphere vent if need be.
Did they check this out with their software, through the computers?
They did some checks, yes. It's flagged by the computer. This is part of the system they checked just at the time that they closed the hatch to make sure that the cabin will both seal and the vent valves will work as expected. It's not expected to have a master alarm trigger at this point, so they're going to stop and just make sure they understand it. And
all right,
we can listen to NASA Select and see what they've got on it. Quite possibly the environmental control systems folks on the launch control team are still consulting their computer readouts and looking at the detailed technical indicators. These are folks who understand all of the engineering and the physics of the orbiter, so if they have an indicator that's faulty, they'll be able to deduce that in most cases.
What's the percentage of that happening?
Oh, it's of a failure or an anomaly at this point in time, it's really fairly small overall. And quite often those are resolved because, again, the team can deduce from its technical expertise that it's a false sensor or false indicator and not a real problem.
Somebody looking at this picture for the very first time, what is the steam, or somebody would describe it as smoke coming out of the bottom of the orbiter?
We're continuing to hold as engineers discuss and evaluate.
Those are the vent fumes from the liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen inside the orangish-yellow external fuel tank there. Lisa Malone's explaining the current situation a bit for us. Let's listen.
When the Discovery crew module door was installed and secured for flight, as a matter of routine, the cabin vents and the whole crew cabin is slowly pressurized from its normal sea level pressure of 14.7 pounds per square inch up to a few more pounds per square inch. And as the pressure increases, the environmental control engineer here in the flying room monitors the status of the test. The higher the normal pressure in the crew module causes alarms in the cabin to go off. This serves as a test of the orbiter's caution and warning system.
Anxiety at this point on the part of the crew at this time, Dr. Sullivan, or not?
Probably not intense anxiety. Little curiosity as to what the launch control team will deduce from their indicators. They can see more data about the systems than the crew can see on board in this case. And maybe a little anxiety that they'd sure like to. It's 8.5 minutes to get comfortable if you leave the pad straight up. It's a lot longer if you have to get out of the vehicle and drive back home and unsuit. So you never want to ask the crew at this point what their opinion is of the nature of a problem and whether you should go or not, because they're unanimously going to want to go.
They're ready to go.
Right,
and of course, the shuttle does not have to lift off exactly at 2 o'clock, though that is planned. They have that 2-hour window of opportunity, and with the weather the way that it is right now, that is not going to be a negative factor.
That's right. They also need to have weather favorable at some overseas sites in case there was an abort during flight, but those appear also to be in very good shape, so they probably can use the whole 2.5-hour window.
We do have a 2.5-hour launch window today.
Just what we're talking about.
We expect we will be clearing this problem up very shortly as we continue to hold at the T-minus 9-minute mark. All other systems aboard Discovery are continuing to look very good at this point. Weather looking very good for today's launch.
We had a similar sort of problem with an indicator crop up on one of my flights with the countdown clock held at 31 seconds. At that point, you have auxiliary power units and other things running that really limit the amount of time you can sit still and think about it. And I got to tell you, one of the most exciting and motivating and proud moments of my life was listening to this team of launch controllers go through its paces, think through the physics of the system, no changed pitch in the voice, no anxiety or pressure in the room, analyze the situation, advise the NASA test director that they understand the problem and they can switch the software over and we can proceed.
And because
we flew those folks to the Cape. We flew those folks to the landing site after that flight because they were the only reason there was a landing that day.
That was the very least you could do,
Absolutely.
I would think. You know, we were talking about the steam coming out of the bottom of the vapors rather coming out of the bottom of the shuttle. Earlier today you were telling us about the beanie, as you called it, on the top.
You can see a little white, what's called beanie cap at the very tip of the external tank, and some of the main vents for fumes
Flight
within
Director
that shroud get
Houston
pulled
just
off
confirming with the launch
from
team
there.
that she also saw the 3 master alarms as expected when the pressure was brought up inside Discovery's crew module, and we expect a discussion to follow soon.
You hear now the critical interface and handover between Houston and Kennedy. You can't launch the vehicle with the 2 control centers having a different understanding of what condition it's in, of what's happening, of whether things behaved as expected. The orbiter clears the tower in about 7 seconds. So 7 seconds after ignition, the flight control team in Houston catches that forward pass on the run, accelerating 2,000 miles an hour every minute that the engines are burning.
Wow.
So you really want to be in sync with your partners in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
They have to know right now everything that is going on.
That's right.
Does it come down to a case of one control room having the final say? Does Kennedy then outrank Houston?
The responsibility to follow the launch commit criteria lies with the launch control team here in Florida. So now Houston, both teams are a part of formulating those and sharing the technical understanding that they're based on. But at the end of the day, the responsibility for saying, I'm no go for flight, because the problem happened at this point in time, it would lie with the environmental control system officer in the launch control center across the way.
Here?
Here.
Okay.
You mentioned your own shuttle flight that was delayed at 31 seconds. What other kinds of little glitches like this then
Test
can
conductors
make
just verifying
the shuttle just have to sit on the
flight
pad
crew
while you
in
try to
Houston
figure it
flight,
out?
and also
Sometimes you wait for weather. If there's some variable wind or some cloud or fog evolving, then you might try to wait out the weather if the launch window allows you. Sometimes an indicator, as we had, as perhaps is the case here.
Time you're go, you always go at this time as well.
Just
Okay, I copy that. Doesn't crank the launch.
Ground launch sequence officer.
And CISL, JRPS, keep the flight entity on 212. Activate ops recorder, CISL.
It sounds from these conversations like they're perhaps getting ready to pick back up the countdown.
Attention all stations, this is the NTD performing the launch status check.
So it could be a faulty
Verify ready to resume
This is the NASA tech director now polling his controllers.
Go. TVC. Tank and boosters are go. TTC. Go. LPS. LPS is go. Flight.
Flights go.
Mila. Mila's go. SPM. Go. Safety console. Safety console go. SBE.
SBE is go.
LRD. LRD is go. SRO. SRO is go. You have range clear to launch. I copy. And CDR. Discoveries go. Very good. And launch director NTD, the launch team is ready to proceed.
Okay, I'll perform my poll at this time. Engineering.
Now, are you as a crew member hearing all of this inside
Yes,
the
the crew is
module?
following these status checks. This is really when you start to get ready to
Safety and
go.
mission assurances go, Ralph. Payload processing.
Payloads are go.
Cape weather.
Roger, sir. We have no constraints to launch.
Ops manager.
MMT is go for launch.
The engineering one more time.
Oh, this is exciting. No, it really is.
We've been listening here to the NASA test director and the launch director. There are several officials involved in this point. The NASA test director is the
Engineering director 212.
NASA
Go,
official
go.
in the firing room.
We are still
Engineering.
our poll.
They're looking for the chief of engineering to speak up and stake their claim. Silence is not an option at this point. You're responsible for understanding the status of what you're dealing with.
This entity on 212. We will be resuming the count momentarily.
Okay, they're going to pick up the clock here.
So apparently
We've
they
remained
are
in the
okay.
built-in hold an additional 8.5 minutes so far.
So, I've completed my poll. We are go.
All right, thank you. CDR launch director.
Go ahead, launch director.
Kurt, the launch team is go. Your vehicle's ready. The weather's beautiful out there. On behalf of the entire launch team, you and the crew of Discovery have a great mission.
All right.
Good.
That sounds
good.
like the.
Thank you very much, sir.
the
And
okay they
Discovery's
needed.
crew is definitely ready to go, and we would like you to proceed.
Wow.
NTD, pick up the count.
Okay, and looking.
Copy that, launch director. And CISL entity. CISL. Up to recorder activation complete.
You know, I don't know if you can see.
Not yet.
What are all these buses behind us?
Trying to pick up the hold at 9, is
Catherine,
that
you
correct?
know?
Negative.
Dave, I would imagine those are
Copy
just
that.
tour groups and media groups that are out here at the various viewing sites.
Okay.
Their NTD is going to pick up the clock here just a second.
CLS copy. Countdown clock will resume on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark.
And we resume the count.
And we're now at T-minus 9 minutes and counting.
And applause.
We heard
a
NASA
polite
test
smattering of
director
applause
Doug Lyons
throughout
conduct
the
a
group
poll of
out
the launch
here
team.
as the
Also,
countdown
Ralph
does resume.
Launch director conducting a poll of his team.
And we will be back with
And,
more of our shuttle
Jonathan
discovery
Hurry.
coverage in just a second.
I got the sweaty palms.
So located here in the firing room.
Live from the Kennedy Space Center, 10 TV Eyewitness News presents Countdown to Discovery, John Glenn's return to space.
Go ahead, sir. We need to hold the clock at 5.
There's going to be a hold.
We have an aircraft that we can't find. Okay, I copy that.
There's going to be a hold at T-minus 5
Sort of
minutes.
hold at 5,
Minus
please.
5 minutes.
CLS
And why is that?
It's an aircraft in the launch
Launch
area.
count will hold at the T-minus
Now,
5
this
minute
is a
mark.
no-fly
The range
zone.
safety officer
why
reported
are
an
they here?
aircraft in the area. We need to locate that aircraft and escort it out of the flight path of the vehicle.
As you were telling us earlier, the only aircraft allowed in this
Yeah, we do
area
have a
are,
2.5-hour
of course,
window
those
today.
sanctioned by
Astronaut
NASA.
So these momentary holds will not affect anything on board the shuttle Discovery, and the crew is
Is this an aircraft that might want to get a picture, or somebody just doesn't know any better, or just
Didn't read the notice to airmen. Mindless, touristing.
And let's confirm that
Anyway.
the hold is in place at 5 minutes.
Correct. The countdown clock will hold at T-minus 5 minutes due to NTD hold request.
This has got to be so
Wow.
nerve-wracking, all these little things. I mean, we know that they're important. It's important to check everything out, but still, to
You're
stop
just
the
very
clock.
eager to go. And you just sit there listening and hoping it's a legitimate problem. Fix it.
T-minus 5 minutes and holding.
T-minus
The
5?
countdown clock is holding at T-minus 5 minutes.
I spent about 9 minutes
Again,
in
the
the
range
first
safety
hold.
officer monitoring the airspace within the Kennedy Space Center
And then that
vicinity reported an
additional 8.5
aircraft in the area.
minutes.
Well, the range attempt to resolve their issue. Please stand by. And SRO NTD.
Just incredible.
SRO NTD on 212.
back and you see it sitting there, it's just what a picture.
Once again, in case you have just joined us, we are now at T-minus 5 minutes, Dr. Sullivan, and holding.
The launch team here will stand by, waiting for the Superintendent of Range Operations, known as SRO, to give the final clear for launch. Again, an aircraft in the area. We will have to hold and wait for that aircraft to move out of the vicinity of Kennedy Space Center so that the shuttle Discovery can safely lift off and have a clean flight path.
And that is Lisa Malone of NASA.
What is the perimeter? Do you know what the perimeter
The
is?
auxiliary power units
It varies a little bit with each elevation and each specific path, Dave. They clear an entire corridor out to sea so that the solid rocket boosters can drop back in, so there's no hazard to boats or aircraft. And occasionally some boat or airplane strays into that area, maybe not paying attention, maybe a little too eager for a photograph. The range safety folks that you're hearing Lisa refer to is yet another component of the launch control team whose job it is to sanitize that airspace and keep an eye on it, make sure there's nobody in there that could be at some risk. And they have the authority, as does any of the controllers, to put their hand up in the air and say, I've got a problem, we're not going until it's fixed. That's what they did. The countdown clock at this point doesn't stop at just any old point. There's predefined points in time so that everybody has a common understanding of what state are all the systems in. If we go forward, what do I need to do? If we were to back up from here, what would I need to do? So he actually requested this hold about a minute and a half ago, and then you just let the clock run down to this defined point and then sit there.
Okay.
If they come out of this hold with the aircraft cleared away, the next step for the crew will be to start the onboard auxiliary power units. And
that's kind of a point of no return almost, isn't it?
It's a very critical point. You begin using the fuel within the auxiliary power units themselves, and you need those again for entry and landing. So you're not going to spend too much of it on the launch pad and risk having enough fuel left for the landing phase. So they'll be watching that very carefully. There's usually about a 14 to 16 minute time frame that you can run the APUs before you get into that box. Range safety in the background is talking to the NASA test director and just giving him an update that at this point they can't project when they might clear the range.
Now, when we were talking about when we saw the pictures earlier when they were closing the hatch and you said, everybody's just pretty cool. Now I would think that the anxiety is a little bit different in the module than it was maybe an hour ago, huh?
Well, I think you might be a little surprised. It's certainly on all the crews that I was on, such great confidence in this team. You've worked with them a number of times. You know them. You know they know their stuff. You're in no position to second guess or rethink what they're proposing. And there's nothing you can do to change the circumstance.
You're strapped in and you just do it.
You sit there and wait and see what happens. You're anxious to go. It's a whole lot more fun for the rest of the day if you launch and get to start your part of the job. But there's a lot of respect and understanding between the different parts of the team.
What are we looking at there now?
We're looking in what looks like the port side window from the pad into Kurt Brown's window. Sometimes if you get the light just right with those pad cameras, you can see the helmet or the gloves of the crew member inside. And this is a little more distant shot. You know, when you start, when you get into the real serious business of all of this, starting the main engines and then starting the solids, that surface of the pad that Discovery is mounted on, it's actually deluged with water. So you'll probably see the NASA signal cut away in the final stages of launch to the base of the orbiter and the pad surface so that we can see several of those key events that are precursors and associates of starting the main engines, presuming we get out of our range safety hole here.
Yes, we've got to get that aircraft out of the way right now. Security, of course, is always tight for a lot of these shuttle launches, but especially this one because it has attracted so much attention, because there are so many dignitaries here, and because it is such a special launch for John Glenn. President Clinton is here. I understand the Crown Prince of Spain is here.
There are multiple targets, and this time the radar is saturated.
Looks like they got him out, huh?
No, they're still working that problem.
Yeah, I copy that, and again, please keep us advised.
Yeah, there's a very large congressional delegation here, Angela. Heads of state, Pedro Duque is obviously receiving great fanfare in his home country of Spain.
Let's talk about him a little bit, because were it not for Senator John Glenn hitching a ride on this shuttle, Pedro Duque would probably be the star, because this is his very first mission, and he is the first Spaniard to go on a shuttle mission.
He really is about to be the Alan Shepard of Spain, the very first nationality to fly in space in any form. He's got a very very interesting and very strong technical background in the European Space Agency and a lot of engineering and technical roles. And I was talking to some of my colleagues around the site last night. Very genteel, laid-back kind of guy. Has handled with just superb grace and graciousness the arrival of John and any sort of deflection of attention it might have cost him. And I suspect down the road somewhere he realizes that in the long run, the kind of sea story he'll tell about his first space flight will have some extra distinctive features to it, because he was one of the crew that took John along on the flight. Pedro's a mission specialist, of course, so he has a very different scope of responsibilities than John has, much more involved in the manipulator systems and the orbiter systems.
But he does have a fan club. You spotted someone with a Pedro Duque t-shirt on a little while ago.
Well, and the European Space Agency made up a specialized patch to celebrate the first Spaniard to fly. Very fun, dramatic patch, and you see that around very proudly displayed by the European Space Agency folks.
While we have some time here, and we're waiting, and we're in this hole, and apparently they indicated that, you know, they'll wait for 2 hours if they have to.
They'll use the entire window here as long as the APUs aren't started.
What does this flight really mean for the future of NASA and the International Space Station? I mean, you know, there's a lot of controversy in the country, and a lot of different people, you know, who say don't spend the money and do spend the money and don't spend the money. I don't see the value in it. Some people say they do see the value in it.
Well, I guess my opinion would be, listening to a number of the general public and the younger folks that we've heard over the last day and a half, boy, there sure is some value to me that the young folks in this country know that they live in a place that is about daring and dreams and reaching and changing boundaries, expanding limits, and believing that you can do the impossible. I had classmates that came from backgrounds that one would never have suspected should attain the acclaim and technical competency of an astronaut, and they did. It mattered to all of us to see John and his colleagues in the Mercury days doing these extraordinary things no one had ever done before. It told us something about the scope of possibilities we could dream about and prepare ourselves to make happen, to be a part of. So this flight is, as many flights are, just one little building block. Every Mercury flight was one little building block towards Apollo. Every Gemini flight. Hubble Space Telescope servicing equipment's being tested on this flight that'll be critical to the third servicing mission coming up in about a year. Several robotics and support techniques that will be used in the assembly of the space station are being tested here. Some very interesting solar physics and astronomy are being done here. And then the medical and biomedical experiments that John is a part of. So it's a very elaborate flight that really challenged the mission designers quite severely to get it all woven together and make everything play together so that you could satisfy all the scientific requirements through the course of a 9-day mission.
And when you talk about all those experiments, it seems that back when John Glenn and Alan Shepard and Scott Carpenter were going into space, it was a happening. And shuttle missions have become pretty routine now. In fact, the shuttle astronauts themselves, they say, well, we're going to work. It's just another day at work. So will this kind of pump some more excitement, you think, into the program?
I think for a moment it will pump some more excitement. I think if you really probe people in the program about shuttle flights or space flights, they've definitely become more frequent. But I can promise you there's not any flight that's routine.
So it'll never be routine then?
And you're hearing some of that here. Gee, you would think you could just start the clock and ticky-boo right on down. It's never that simple. There's always something, hopefully little, that challenges your technical expertise and your ability to work together as a team.
The interesting thing about this mission also is it has young people excited.
Angela, the range safety officer has just announced that the range is clear for launch, and the NASA test director should be picking up the count shortly.
That has got to be
at our direction. We can pick up at your direction.
Good news for the folks on top, sitting on top of that
launch
shuttle.
director.
If you are just joining us, that was a violation of the airspace, and that's why they held the countdown at T-5 minutes.
Countdown clock will pick up momentarily. TLS, pick up the count on your mark.
TLS copy. 3, 2, 1, mark. TLS go for orbiter APU start.
BLT, OTC, perform APU start.
Again, applause.
Yeah. This is just unreal.
Crew is not the only group that wants this to happen.
PDR, OTC,
there are folks who have traveled from a long way away and waited a long time to see
PDR copies, heater reconfig and work.
The pilot, or PLT as he's called on the voice loops, is starting the auxiliary power units now.
OTC, heater reconfig is complete.
Various heaters and environmental control systems are being set up.
T-minus 4 minutes, 30 seconds.
And from this point on, as we listen to Lisa, you'll now hear an increasing number of events associated with the main
Pilot Lindsay will
engines.
report back when the APUs have, he's seen an indication they have a good start.
I know you told me I should keep my camera in and just enjoy the pulse and the sensation and the vibration. But,
started complete.
David, there are 100,000 people here with cameras better than yours, but none of them can feel what you might feel.
You're absolutely right. So I am going to just I am just going to sit here and let this. She says it's going to vibrate through your toes and your chest and the whole works. I'm just going to sit here and enjoy it then.
You'll never outshoot the tracking mounts with a handheld camera.
That's
Final
true.
quarter sequence of the main engines will begin in about 30 seconds.
So I'll just buy the poster then, right?
That's probably the right thing to do. It's going to start getting
The orbital
interesting
flight control
here.
systems are being moved through their
Base of the pad.
pre-programmed
You feel these vibrations aboard. You feel the main
pattern,
engines
and they will be
gimbal.
verified. They are ready for
There you
launch.
see a move.
The 3 main engines are being gimbaled and positioned for launch.
What does gimbal mean?
Just moved through their range of motion.
All
You
systems
actually
are go
can
for
steer
launch
the
at this
orbiter
time, just
with
a few
those
minutes away from the 25th voyage of Discovery with a crew of 7.
Movement there.
DLS will hold at T-minus 31 seconds due to a failure indication.
Hold.
Okay, there's going to be another hold at 31 seconds. That's the point where the ground launch sequencer usually hands over to redundant set. Haven't heard yet why.
Again, this was the issue we described earlier. This is a known condition.
Okay.
Pressurization.
As Lisa will probably explain to us,
Just an indicator that was providing inaccurate data.
Clear caution, warning memory, verify no unexpected errors. Copy that, in work.
just a couple seconds here, the crew will close their visors.
CLC, MPS engine 2 pitch, actuator profile, verified nominal. CLC is go for launch.
And CLC has been I copy, go
That's
for
the
launch.
beanie cap retracting.
It's coming back.
Break, NTD SRO on 212. Go ahead, SRO. Yes, sir. We will need to hold the caution. Range is no-go. We have a valid range.
Okay, the
I
range.
copy that, and we'll hold at T-minus 31 seconds, and be advised our hold time there is 5 minutes and 18 seconds. Range understands hold time of 5 minutes, 18 seconds.
Let's listen to Lisa explain the two things that are happening here.
PLT, caution warning clear, no expected errors.
Countdown clock will be holding. The Superintendent of Range Operations announcer is
Remove the hold in association with our engine 2 pitch, and insert a hold at T-minus 31 seconds due to the range.
TLS copies and works.
31 seconds is one of those planned hold points.
Close and lock your visors, initiate O2.
The engine
And on the
actuator
ignition,
issue that we
let the
talked
wings
about
be
earlier,
discovered.
Angela,
Lift
they
the
have
top of the
resolved
vehicle.
that. That's no longer a reason to hold at 31 seconds, but the range safety officers have a
copies, we'll
problem.
close our visors and go to pseudo 2.
You can see Kurt Brown moving around there.
Clock will hold at T-minus 31 seconds due to NTD hold request.
Break, NTD SRO on 212. Go ahead, SRO. Yes, sir. Range is go for launch. The range is
All right, it's cleared again.
I copy that. Launch director NTD.
Here we go.
Let's go. And GLS, please remove the hold at T-minus 31.
Copy and work.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
With 29 seconds to go, GLS will move so quickly they won't even let the countdown clock stop.
All systems are go. All systems have been reported go for launch of Discovery. Less than 1 minute away now from the historic return of John Glenn to space.
I copy and attention all stations. The countdown clock will continue.
But it is something else here.
Lisa will probably give us a real good walkthrough of this final crisp sequence of events.
Okay.
TLS is go for auto sequence start.
Discovery's onboard computers now have control of vehicle functions. T-minus 20 seconds. T-minus 15. T-minus 10, 9, 8. We have a go for engine start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery with a crew of 6 astronaut heroes and 1 American legend.
Hey, good line.
So that's what Lisa was going to say. Look at that. It's like a candle.
Roger roll, Discovery.
Oh my God.
Was I right?
Yeah.
You can actually feel.
speed.
What's it like flying like that, sense of flying upside down?
You don't really feel that very much. You're so, the force pushing across your body back into the seat is so much stronger, Dave. The
external tank should be coming off soon?
The external tank won't come off until very late in the profile. The solid rockets will come off at about 2 minutes and 4 seconds.
I'm sorry, the solid rockets.
That's right.
Yeah.
They throttle down at about 48 seconds to get through the maximum dynamic pressure range. Then they come back and throttle up. You heard that call.
Discovery now at an altitude of 25 miles, traveling at a speed of 2,000.
And separation is coming up now.
Wow.
The next event will be burnout and separation of Discovery's twin solid rocket boosters.
There go the solids.
And I think what a lot of people don't realize, Dr. Sullivan,
6 more minutes to go.
Yeah. Those rocket boosters then are reusable.
Yes, those rocket casings land in the ocean and are used again. You'll hear
Capcom Susan Still informing the crew that in the event of a single engine failure,
Performance nominal.
things are going good.
Copy, performance nominal.
Discovery could now reach the transatlantic abort site at Banjul. However, telemetry indicating all 3 engines continuing to perform well, and Discovery's performance to this point, 2.5 minutes into the flight, has been as expected. Discovery now traveling at a speed of 3,500 miles per hour at an altitude of 43 miles, downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 70 miles. All systems are continuing to perform well.
In just about another 45 seconds, they'll be going so fast they can't turn around and come back here, and you'll hear Susan Still call negative return.
3 minutes into the flight, Discovery now traveling at a speed of 3,850 miles per hour, downrange from the Kennedy Space Center at a distance of 86 miles.
And how many abort sites are there around the world?
Just about 5 minutes of powered flight remaining on board.
There are 3 transatlantic aborts on the continent, primarily the continent of Africa, North Africa, and then you can also go almost a full revolution around the Earth and land in California if you need to.
That's at Edwards.
That would be at Edwards for this flight.
Yeah.
They should be coming up on negative return here shortly.
And Lisa will actually make that announcement.
3 minutes and 40 seconds into the flight, Discovery now traveling at a speed of 4,600 miles per hour. Downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, just about 135 miles. Telemetry indicating that all systems on board are
Negative return.
Discovery copies, negative return.
That means they couldn't.
And with that call, Discovery is now too far downrange and it's gained too much altitude to return to the Kennedy Space Center in the event of an engine failure.
Discovery Houston, press to ATO.
I'd stay at least 1 more minute.
Discovery copies, press ATO.
And Discovery could now reach orbit on 2 engines should one fail. However, telemetry continues to indicate that all 3 main engines are performing at 104% of rated thrust as expected. 4 minutes, 21 seconds into the flight, just about 4 more minutes of powered flight remaining. Discovery traveling at a speed of 5,700 miles per hour, downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 200 miles.
This is a very gentle ride for John. He had over 7 Gs last time. In about 3 minutes, he'll get to close to 3 Gs, but just below that, they actually throttle the shuttle's main engines to stay below 3 Gs so that the payloads don't have to be so strong, not for the human beings. So this is a very easy ride for John if he remembers his first one. It's still a very good ride. In just a moment, we should hear Susan Still let them know.
5 minutes into the mission, 3.5 minutes of powered flight remaining.
They hit a point here where
Discovery Houston, press to MECO.
They would press on the main engine cutoff even if they lost an engine.
Press to MECO.
That call means that Discovery could now reach a safe orbit on 2 engines should one fail. All 3 main engines are continuing to perform.
Discovery Houston, single engine ops 3, Banjul.
Discovery copies, single engine ops 3, Banjul.
Discovery now at a speed of 7,600 miles per hour, downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 308 miles. All systems on board are continuing to perform well. Just about 3 minutes of powered flight remaining.
Did you ever get from North America to Africa in 8 minutes?
No, never did.
Discovery Houston,
I can get up 315 pretty fast, but nothing compared to this.
Discovery copies, single engine Banjul 104.
With all 3 main engines still up and running on board at Discovery, that call was that Discovery could make it to the transatlantic abort site at Banjul in the event that 2 engines should fail, but all 3 engines are continuing to perform as expected. Discovery now downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 385 miles, traveling at a speed of 9,100 miles per hour at an altitude of just about 68 miles.
Be a reason to stay through MECO.
So there could actually be communication from the shuttle how soon?
There's been communication from the shuttle to the Capcom throughout powered flight. You'll hear these calls back and forth from Susan Still to Kurt. It's not uncommon when you cut off the engines, the commander...
Discovery Houston, single engine press 104.
Discovery copy, single engine press 104.
Kurt will report back
6 minutes
the
and 40
velocity
seconds
at
into the
cutoff.
flight, traveling at a speed of
Houston has control
10,700
now.
miles
That's
per
what I
hour.
want to
Discovery could now reach
Lisa's commenting, but
orbit on
Houston
one
has
engine,
control.
2 fail.
You know,
However,
listen to
all 3
these
engines are
computers
still performing at 104% of rated thrust.
all this computer talk, and I'm reminded of John Glenn, what he said this summer. He says, all these guys are computer geeks, and I'm just in the email
Well,
stage.
there was no onboard computer in Freedom 7. There are 5 here, plus 13 laptops. So.
Well, he'll be a whiz at this by the time he comes back on the 6th.
Oh, man.
7 minutes and 10 seconds into the flight, Discovery's engines will soon begin to throttle back to maintain structural limits on the orbiter as it approaches loads near 3 times normal gravity. Discovery now traveling at the rate of 12,000.
You might get a comment from
miles per
John
hour,
right
and
after
range from the
Miko.
Kennedy Space Center 630 miles.
That's main engine cutoff.
Main engine cutoff. It's I don't have any information about that, but it wouldn't be too uncommon. You'd hate to miss it. It's 1 minute away. Main engine cutoff. This phase of powered flight, you feel like you're riding on the world's smoothest electric train. It's not vibrating, it's not shaking, but it is still pushing on the back of your seat. At main engine cutoff, everything stops. The world is
7
zero
minutes
gravity.
and 52 seconds into the flight, Discovery is now traveling at a speed of 15,000 miles per hour. Downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 750 miles. The 3 main engines have throttled back to maintain structural limits on the orbiter as it reaches its 3G limiting load.
This is now the point where the crew is
Standing
feeling...
by for confirmation of cutoff of the main engines in just about 10 seconds or so.
A little bit of difficulty breathing as the G-force pushes you up into the straps a bit. You get a good sense of that in the simulators, but it's
And how do you
unique
deal
this
with
time.
that? What do you do?
Just pace your breathing a little bit and think about it a little bit. You should hear Kurt Brown here shortly confirming main engine cutoff.
Discovery Houston, Namino Miko, OHMS 1 not required.
Copy, OHMS 1 not required.
And main engine cutoff and separation of the external tank confirmed by the booster officer here in Mission Control.
They're now
8 minutes and 53 seconds into the flight. The crew of Discovery in orbit. John Glenn in orbit for the 2nd time in his life. Currently at an altitude of just about 72 miles.
So they've had a nominal launch. They're just where they wanted to be. In about 45 minutes, they'll do 1 on-orbit burn to circularize the orbit at the target altitude. The mission specialist on the middeck is probably unstrapping and beginning to get some gear out now, and the payload specialist will most likely wait until OHMS 2, as it's called, is complete in a little while.
So they are actually starting work on their mission this close to launch.
Well, these folks you see in the Launch Control Center have just finished a very long and intense day's work, and the crew is just starting. And it starts very fast.
Just a little over 8 minutes off the ground. They're going to work, huh?
You betcha.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Think you're going to miss any of those pictures, Dave?
No,
Just in case you did miss it, let's take a look now.
I know, this
Replay
is,
of the launch of the shuttle Discovery with John Glenn on board.
We have a go.
Here we have the ignition.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery with a crew of 6 astronaut heroes and 1 American legend.
Love that. Do you like that, Catherine?
Lisa does a super job on those comments.
Roger, roll, Discovery.
This was her secret send-off.
Secret send-off with a wonderful sense of style and history. So you got to feel a really good amount of the pulsing of that first set of engines.
And for those of you at home, you really do feel it. You really do feel it. We can feel our little platform here vibrating. But it's not just under your feet. You can feel it in the air.
It's on your body.
On the completion of MPS dump, you have a go for the ET photo maneuver.
And once again, you're looking at a replay of the launch of the Shuttle Discovery. This is STS-95. Let's go to Marcy Fleischer now. Marcy has been at the Astronaut Hall of Fame here in Florida. Marcy, what was the reaction there?
Angela, I could tell you my reaction was very emotional. Got some tears in my eyes, a little choked up. I think a lot of people felt the same. They started clapping and cheering. People didn't just come from all over the country to witness this. They came from all over the world. I'm with some gentlemen from the United Kingdom. What did you think?
Absolutely out of this world. It really was typical. It was our first launch here, and well, the whole thing was so beautiful. It was great. Really was lovely.
I like that description, out of this world. What did you think?
Marvelous, tremendous. I don't know what to say about it. It's absolutely tremendous.
Let me ask your friend right next to you. Was it what you expected?
Yes, and more. I think absolutely brilliant. Well worth the wait.
Wow, quite the critiques. What about you? What did you think as far as when we were in the hold and we got postponed for a couple minutes there? Did you get nervous?
Certainly, yeah. There was a big adrenaline build-up, waiting for it. I mean, was it going to go? Was it going to hold? Who knows? I mean, it was absolutely fantastic, though. What a thing to see.
Well, thank you all very much. Angela and Dave, that's the response from here. People just really thrilled, and of course, Will was watching with us as well. He said, oh, is this cool?
All right, Marcy, thank you very much. Marcy Fleischer reporting from the Astronaut Hall of Fame here near Cape Canaveral, Florida.
Now back to Columbus and Kelly Hudson. Kelly, the reaction where you are.
Dave, these students here with the Young Astronauts Club, they were counting down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the room went up in applause. These students very excited. And Candace Waddell is with me now. She has been a member of the Young Astronauts Club for the last 3 years in a row, and she also went to the NASA Space Camp. What did you think about this as it unfolded before your eyes?
I was just so amazed. I was like holding my breath when that was going up. I was excited and nervous at the same time.
Now, after that, everything seemed to be safe and the speed was mounting. You were still nervous when you walked over here. Why?
I was just thinking about how they're feeling right now. They're going so fast. They just belted back in their seats so much. I mean, it's just so incredible to think about.
Can you see yourself taking off one day?
I don't know, maybe someday.
Okay, Candace. A lot of the students here just eyes big with amazement as you all saw it firsthand, and they saw it here on 10 TV. And we're going to talk to them more to see what they think. We'll have more for you later at 5.
All right, Kelly, thanks a lot. Kelly Hudson from the Astronauts Club.
Let's go now to the Center of Science and Industry, a place that is near and dear to Dr. Catherine Sullivan, and see what's going on with the crowd there. Luann Stoya.
We had a great time here, Angela. I want to tell you, a space pioneer is back in orbit. And we also have a first here for Central Ohio. We got to watch it on this high-definition television, and it was incredible. A first for us here in Central Ohio. Some of the folks here came down, watched it on our noon report that this was going to happen at Center of Science and Industry. Tell us what you were thinking when you saw the launch go up.
I thought it was good. Good to see Senator John Glenn go up in space.
And I'm going to ask your brother, what was the best part of the launch here?
It was really, really beautiful. And it was my first time seeing it, and I wanted to see this in like a long time.
And Mom, I got to ask you, on high definition television, it really seems so clear, didn't it?
It was so clear. I'm so glad we came down. We were watching TV at home and we saw you broadcasting live down here. We came straight down because we wanted to watch with everyone else.
It really gives you the feeling of being there. We're at Center of Science and Industry, COSI in Columbus, and it's really a great feeling. The sound was incredible. The whole experience was incredible for the folks here, and really now with John Glenn in space, a Buckeye hero and now a Buckeye legend. Back to you.
Thank you very much. And tell the folks at COSI we will bring Dr. Sullivan back safe and sound and all in one piece.
We're going to catch our breath.
Ignition and liftoff of Discovery with a crew of 6 astronaut heroes and 1 American legend.
Yeah, that.
Hey, good point.
Yeah.
So that's what Lisa was going to say. Look at that. It's like a candle.
Roger roll, Discovery.
Oh, my God.
You're watching Mission Discovery, special coverage from 10 TV Eyewitness News and the Ohio News Network, with 10 TV's Dave Kaler, Angela Pace, and ONN's Deborah Knapp.
T-minus 10, 9, 8. We have a go for engine start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery with a crew of 6 astronaut heroes and 1 American legend.
Was launched on his 2nd space mission in his career. A flawless liftoff for the shuttle Discovery on a beautiful day here at Cape Canaveral, and just the roar of applause, the roar of approval that went up when that shuttle finally did lift off. It was something to be seen and heard.
Well, after you see those pictures and you see that the shuttle had taken off, it's all in Mission Control's hands now out in Houston, Texas, and that's where our Tino Ramos is right now. Tino?
Yeah, Dave, they were really happy to see this thing go. You know, we were watching some of the employees here at the training center. That's where we're located here on the Johnson Space Center, and they had their eyes riveted to the screens, kind of watching, just wondering what some of the delays were, but as soon as it went up, smiles went on all their faces. You know, you were talking to Dr. Sullivan saying that as soon as they head up to orbit, they immediately are beginning their workload up there, and I want to tell you a little bit here in terms of what we have here, because in the back part of the shuttle here, this will be the Space Hab. This is the laboratory that they'll end up working on, and probably within the 45 minutes they'll start working their way from the mid deck, which is on the bottom, and the flight deck up here. They'll start working their way through a tunnel into the Space Hab. They'll be activating a number of things in there, activating a number of experiments, just trying to plan things and prepare things to get the most of the experiments underway. Mission Control very happy with the way things have gone. Everything was in working order. All the systems kept up through the entire flight, at least through the launch area and up into orbit. That obviously is the critical stage of this. So right now, Dave and Angela, it's mission. They're just getting right into the string of things and just trying to get things going to get right into the flight plan of a 9-day mission. Dave, Angela?
Okay, Tino, thanks a lot. Tina will be housed down there at Mission Control during the duration of this flight.
That's right, until November the 6th. Let's go now back to Columbus with Penny Moore. Penny has been spending some time with some seasoned citizens watching the launch. Penny?
You know, we didn't feel the ground shake up here, Angela and Dave, but we sure enjoyed this. I was with about 25 senior citizens here at the 2nd and Summit Street Senior Recreation Center on the north side of Columbus, and Paul Strom, who is about to be 90. I watched your face, Paul, and you were thrilled, weren't you?
I was.
Tell me what you were thinking.
I was just thinking how wonderful it is that the senator could take a second flight. I mean, he's well known, of course, around here.
Were you frightened for him?
Yes, I was. But I didn't, not to his face.
You wouldn't have told him that, right? But I know there was a great sense of relief when that space shuttle went off, wasn't there?
Oh, yes, it always is.
Okay, now you got 9 days to worry about him. That's what we were talking about with a lot of the seniors here. It's not over yet. It's 9 days up there.
Well, the reputation is just wonderful of both Texas and Florida.
So you're confident all will go well, aren't you?
Yes, I surely am.
Thanks, Paul. You know, a lot of the seniors here who have watched all of the space flights, Dave and Angela, do have a great deal of confidence in NASA, although one woman told me as she was watching, in the back of her mind, of course, was that horrible Challenger accident, and she was just praying that there would, of course, be no repetition of that scene. So everybody was very happy. It was a great event here.
Oh, she was not alone. Thank you very much, Penny.
Now we want to go to Marcy Fleischer, who is over at the Astronaut Museum, and our Will Upton from Zanesville should be. What was his reaction, Marcy? Are you got him there?
I've got him, Dave. We're here with Will Upton, who's a member of the 10 TV broadcast team. He was watching right next to me, traveled all the way from Ohio as well, Zanesville. Well, Will, what did you think?
I thought it was pretty exciting. It was pretty neat. I liked when the rocket was going up. You saw a lot of fire. It got real hot during the launch, probably because of all the flame.
Okay, Will, we're going to cut you off here, but we want to hear more from you. But first, we need to go to a break. This is live coverage of 10 TV's John Glenn return trip to space.
Once again, you're watching a replay of the successful launch of the Space Shuttle Discovery, and it is in orbit now, and so is John Glenn, and so are the 6 astronaut heroes.
Just can't get enough of that. I could watch that over and over and over again. And I'm sure that Deb Knapp of ONN, who is standing by, she was down by the countdown clock. Deb, where are you now?
I'm still at the same place, Angela. As far as I'm concerned, I think we had some of the best seats in the house for this. And you know, I agree. You can't get enough of this. Your stomach could feel it. Your feet could feel it. Your bones could feel it. It was just an amazing, amazing experience, I think, for everybody here. I think a lot of the media members, right before it happened, kind kind of were holding their breath. We had those 2 holds that we had to sit through. We didn't know if it was going to have to stop again before the actual 0-0 appeared on the clock. And as soon as it went off, you just heard cameras clicking, people cheering, and once it started reaching towards near orbit, it just erupted in applause down here. So certainly an experience I will never forget.
All right, Deb, I don't think any of us will. And once again, we do want to remind our viewers that this is a joint broadcast effort between WBNS 10 TV, Eyewitness News, and the Ohio News Network.
Back in just a moment from Cape Canaveral. Stay with us.
Tomorrow at 6 and 11, winter's right around the corner, and we've all got the same 2 questions. How cold's it going to get, and how much snow are we in for? How cold and how much snow? What can you expect this winter? Tomorrow, Doppler 10 Chief Meteorologist Mike Davis and the Doppler 10 weather team use the most advanced weather system in Central Ohio to give you the lowdown on the winter of '98. Tomorrow at 6 and 11, only on 10 TV Eyewitness News.
All right, you are looking at the clock now, and Dr. Sullivan, tell me what that says. We are what into the flight now?
Well, you know, with the lighting angle
I know,
on
it's
that
kinda
clock,
hard to
it's
tell,
a
isn't
little
it?
bit hard to tell, but it ought to be something coming up on about 12 or 20 minutes.
Okay, 12 or 20 minutes,
12 or 20 minutes,
take.
somewhere in there.
Give or take a couple of seconds. Successful, beautiful launch of the Space Shuttle Discovery with Senator John Glenn on board STS-95, now in orbit.
There's something, though, very significant about that clock, because when it was 9 minutes in holding, there was a special message to the crew from Mercury astronaut Scott Carpenter.
Discovery.
Yes, at this point in the count, it seems appropriate to say to the Shuttle Discovery crew, good luck, have a safe flight, and to say once again, Godspeed, John Glenn.
Of course, it was Scott Carpenter who initiated that saying when John Glenn went up 36 years ago. Godspeed, John Glenn, and he reiterated that once again today.
And you know that meant a lot to John Glenn and to the rest of the Shuttle Discovery crew. Let's go now to Ohio State University, where Lisa Kick has been there watching the launch with some Buckeyes. Lisa?
Oh, a lot of Buckeyes, Angela. We packed about 150 people plus into Bricker Hall, right across from the office of the president. The president, of course, in Florida watching this firsthand. Meantime, students here at Ohio State are just excited that one of Ohio's own, and someone that's going to be coming to the campus, went up in space as the oldest man in space. I'm here with Donald Joe, who's been here the entire time as we started the countdown really today. And Donald, your thoughts as you watched the Discovery lift off?
Well, I just can't believe how fast it just went up there, you know, just like Mach 6 at one time. That's about 1.2 miles a second. So I usually thought, you know, they just get up, you know, step by step, step by step. Watching this, well, giving you a new idea just how fascinating and how adventurous and sometimes how dangerous space travel really is. You know, in 1961, when John Glenn first went up, 62, when John Glenn first went up, you know, they say that the Atlas rocket he's riding on, it got like a 40% or so chance that we just blew up right on the launch pad. Wow. So.
There's a lot of risks involved in this. And Donald, thank you so much for joining us. Some of the folks here, as Penny mentioned, were also thinking about the Challenger. And I talked to a couple of ladies who said, gosh, we're just here to pray and send our wishes to John Glenn and to all of that crew that they get up safely.
All right, thanks a lot. Lisa Kick reporting from OSU.
Our Chuck Strickler is down at the State House where some people there were watching the liftoff and the flight. Chuck?
Well, Dave and Angela, a lot of excitement here in the crypt of the state capitol. I think everybody's heart was in their throats as the countdown approached 0 and the blast-off. Maybe people saying a little prayer, clasping their hands, and of course lots of cheers when the shuttle did finally take off. More than 100 people here in the crypt watching the blast-off, including these kids from Bluffview Elementary, Judy Tabor's 4th grade class, and let's get some comments from them. This is John. John, how do you feel about being a part of history and watching part of history?
I feel very good. I just hope that John Glenn comes back safely.
Okay. Shanika, what did you think of the liftoff?
It was great. It was like just how it went up very fast and how the things fell back down. It was very cool.
And we also have David over here. David, what do you think about John Glenn?
I think he's a really amazing person for going up in space at 77.
All right, thanks a lot, David. And the teacher, of course, Judy, how important is this that these kids have seen this as part of your studies?
Well, I think it's just such a huge part of history, and we study Ohio history all year. And we were talking this morning about how the fact this was something they would share with their grandchildren when they got older. And one thing we've really tried to focus on is the fact that John Glenn is a true American hero, and he shows those characteristics of leadership and perseverance and all those wonderful things that we want to instill in children. So it's a great opportunity for kids to learn a valuable lesson and see a wonderful role model.
And to see some real-life education as well. That's right. Judy Tabor, thanks a lot, and thanks to the kids for sticking around here, something that they will always hold on to and remember. Back to you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Chuck Strickler reporting live from the State House.
And that's what it's all about, having the young people see history in the making. When we come back, we're going to talk to Dr. Catherine Sullivan, get her reactions to today's Discovery flight. Right now, let's take another look at an amazing launch. We'll be right back.
Once again, you're watching a launch.
Once again, the launch of the Space Shuttle Discovery carrying Senator John Glenn and 6 other astronauts into space for a 9-day mission. What's interesting about this launch for John Glenn, when he went up the first time, there were no women involved in the program, were there?
That's true. No astronauts and nobody on the flight control teams. And in this case, you heard Susan Still, Capcom. She's a twice-flown space shuttle pilot, flies in the right seat, and someday will command a mission. And her boss, if you will, really orchestrating the whole Mission Control Center in Houston for the launch, is Linda Ham, one of the flight directors.
And of course, we heard the voice of Lisa Malone from NASA also kind of walking us through.
And of Eileen Hawley, the voice of NASA, has taken on different inflections. You don't have to put people around the world to talk to the spacecraft anymore.
That's right. I remember that, like we were talking about the first time when John Glenn went up, he had to, he would contact him in Nairobi or contact him in Australia and in places like that. Take us back to this day. Compare this day, Dr. Sullivan, with, let's say, the days that you took off in your 3 flights. I mean, was it smooth or was it
This was really
routine?
A pretty smooth countdown, very, as the launch control team virtually always does, exceedingly well done professionally. A few challenges, a few good tests of their skill and their command of the situation. Kind of makes life interesting in a way, but they performed superbly. It's just it's an extraordinary group of people.
Kind of nostalgic for you today then, huh?
Well, yeah, that's the team I grew up with. It still feels real good to see them go through their paces.
All right, and I know you were with them in spirit.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Deb Knapp from ONN now. Deborah?
Angela, the first time John Glenn went up, there weren't nearly this amount of media coverage of it. Today, expecting maybe 4,000 people may have covered the event. And of course, you can watch this over and over again tonight on the Ohio News Network. We do have a special coverage from 9 until 10 o'clock on ONN. And again, what an exciting time. And everybody's talking about it as they're packing up their stuff and getting ready to go.
Okay,
all right,
Deb.
thank you very much, Deb. We want to remind you that COSI will be talking to Senator Glenn from the shuttle, right, Dr. Sullivan?
That's right. COSI will have a voice patch, one of only 3 places in the country, in the world actually, have a voice patch up to Discovery on Saturday. John wanted to do some educational interaction with kids during the flight, and we were very pleased that he remembered COSI and our role in education in Ohio.
All right, thanks a lot.
Back in just a moment. Stay with us.
It seems there are still a few cable systems out there that have said no to bringing you the Ohio News Network. No to bringing you the Ohio news, weather, and sports you need, when you need it, 24 hours a day. If you're not getting ONN, call your cable operator. Tell them to fix it. The Ohio News Network, Ohio's own 24-hour cable news channel. You need ONN now.
You're watching Mission Discovery, special coverage from 10 TV Eyewitness News and the Ohio News Network, with 10 TV's Dave Kaler, Angela Pace, and ONN's Deborah Knapp.
And 45 minutes into the flight of the Space Shuttle Discovery, we're still here at Cape Canaveral, but the shuttle is almost halfway around the world.
Let's go to Kelly Hudson now, who is with a group of junior astronauts. Kelly, back in Columbus.
Well, the Young Astronauts Club had to go home. They had to catch their bus. But they were here just about 25 minutes ago. They saw it all. They saw history here. They were all nervous. They were scared. They were hoping the best for John Glenn and the rest of the astronauts. And I think the quote of the day is this. When I asked one of them what they thought about John Glenn, the young man said, "He's a really old guy, but he's gotten to live all of his dreams." And it's just so profound from some of these young people who may not have the sense of history, but yet we're a part of history today. And we've captured a lot of the moments that were here, and we're going to bring them to you at 5 o'clock so you can see this launch through the eyes of a child. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly. We want to say a special thank you to someone else very special, to Dr. Catherine Sullivan, former shuttle astronaut and director of COSI, because we could not have done this without you. Your final thoughts on today's launch?
Every launch is a great launch. Every flight is a wonderful flight and a great human adventure. This is a great crew with a lot of exciting things ahead of them. And I think we all look forward to hearing John's second round stories when he comes home in 10 days.
We want to thank you very much for your expertise. We couldn't have got through this without you.
It's been a pleasure as always.
And thanks for the advice.
You bet.
Back in just a moment. Stay with us.
T-minus 15. T-minus 10, 9, 8. We have a go for engine start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery with a crew of 6 astronaut heroes and 1 American legend.
Down in history for a long, long time. A very successful, uneventful launch really here at Cape Canaveral today, and everything is going fine. And what a glorious day. I don't think there could have been a better day for launch in terms of the sun, in terms of the weather, and in terms of the spirit.
Absolutely perfect. And for those of us who are old enough to remember John Glenn's first launch, it's really very special to be here today to share in this moment with Senator Glenn and his family and the rest of America, as well as to wish the rest of the shuttle crew well, too. And Pedro Duque, that's right, Pedro Duque, his first flight from Spain. So this has got to be a very special day for him, too. Just absolutely incredible feeling and pictures and sound. We want to thank everybody back at home who helped to put this all together. Our crew here, folks who have been working tirelessly. Our new friends here, our crew from Florida, I can't even get it out, crew from Florida who's been taking care of us, making sure we have water and towels and killing the bugs for us. It's really been a real adventure working with all you guys, too.
And again, we can't thank the producers and everybody at home and those here enough. I mean, some of them came down last Thursday, and everybody that has set this up, it's absolutely fantastic. Our continuing coverage tonight at 5, at 6, and 11 o'clock tonight. 10 TV Eyewitness News. We are your 24-hour news source, and we will keep it right here and throughout the mission.
And right now, we want to leave you with some memorable moments of John Glenn's life, brought to you by videographer Drew Yossi. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.
Good night.